Assalamu alaikum, everybody. We are live right now on Facebook. I'd like to welcome everybody who's on Zoom and also on the public side who are watching this to learn about doing halal business in the US. We appreciate your time that you're giving us. Well, today's event is basically a launch event for the American Halal Consultants. I don't want to go into much details because Elizabeth will cover this part after I give a quick welcome. I'd like to welcome our speakers, Allison and Shahed. I'd also like to welcome all our consultants who are here. We will be introducing you individually shortly. But quickly, the reason for this event and group was after we have organized 3 years of the Halal Expo and Summit in the US, we felt that there is a need for an ongoing year-round activities, events, trainings, consulting to people who are interested in halal business in the US, whether they're already based in the US operating halal business or want to start a new halal business, or coming from international, different country and want to join the halal market in the US, which is growing rapidly, as we all know that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it to Elizabeth to give you some background and more details about the group and the purpose of its launch. Elizabeth?
Thank you very much, Marwan. Great to see you all here, and Happy New Year to everybody, and Salaam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So this is a very exciting day. I'm Elisabeth Myers and have been involved with Marwan organizing as the summit director for the annual Halal Expo and Summit for the last couple of years. And as Marwan said, we realized that there was a huge gap in what's available to businesses who want to operate in the halal space or who want to expand in the halal space in the US market. So we're pleased to announce the formation of this new group of experts, expert consultants, who are located primarily in the Washington, D.C. area to help companies and entrepreneurs do business in the US halal market. And currently, as probably most of you know, it's a multi-billion-dollar business around the world. And with the Muslim population in the United States expected to double by 2030, the American demand for halal products and services is growing pretty exponentially. And it presents a significant business opportunity to those businesses already in this space and businesses that want to enter it. So as we're also live on Facebook, I'll just say that halal, as most folks, at least on the Zoom know, it's an Arabic word that means permitted. But it's not just a permitted method of slaughter. In its broadest sense, halal means healthy. And so halal can cover a broad variety of products and services. And so for us, that's what we're planning on focusing on. For cosmetics and comestibles, it means products that contain no toxins or additives that are adverse to health. For tourism, it means destinations that are what we call in the States family friendly. And for investments, for example, it means investing in companies that do not harm people or the environment. So the concept that Marwan and I are putting together is, or have put together, is a group of experts that are in the academic field, in the business field, in many different areas that can assist businesses in growing or entering the US halal market. So we will be focusing on hopefully innovation in the halal space and education, and helping not only existing businesses, but helping startups to the extent we can and encouraging them to innovate in the space. We'll be providing training and educational opportunities as well to our members and the public. So this is a membership organization. Our consultants are members, and we are hoping that we will have businesses that will join us as member businesses to benefit from the services that we provide. And the specific services Marwan will be getting into in a little bit. So I think what I'd like to do, because I know that Shahed has a time crunch here, I'd like to introduce oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm going to introduce our consultants first before I do that, if you don't mind, Shahed. So let me start with those consultants we have on the phone on the Zoom with us. How the world is changing on the phone, on the Zoom, same thing. So I'll just do it as they appear on my screen here. We've got Dr. Riyad Naqshbandi, who is a fellow colleague of mine at the American University here in Washington, D.C. We have Najib Bensouda, who is based in Casablanca, Morocco, and is a longtime denizen of the hospitality industry. We have Mustafa Indakdoki, who is formerly with the US government, US Department of Agriculture. And we have, I'm going to skip over Shahed because I'm going to introduce you in a minute. We have also Peter Unger, who has been with us for the last 3 Halal Expos and Summits in the realm of, I believe it's certification. Some of these categories can get confusing. We have Habib Ghanem also, who is in the realm of certification, located in Virginia. We have Quintin Gray, who has been with the US government and is now in private consulting. And I believe you're also in the Virginia area. And we have Dr. Atiya Ahmed, who is a professor at Georgetown University and in the academic realm of halal and has done research. We have Rafiq Mansour Umar, who is an imam and also assisting us in the halal space. We have, oh, my screen just changed here. We have Yvonne Maffei, who is, hi Yvonne, we have, who conducted in our last Halal Summit and Expo a fabulous cooking class. Even though it was virtual, you could just smell that food. We have Abed Awad, who is a fellow lawyer in Virginia, who has developed a fabulous online platform to help people understand the requirements of Sharia law. And I think that's, and Silvana Ricciarini, and she works with Peter Unger. So I think that covers everybody on our consulting that are here. We have several people. And by the way, all of the member consultants who have joined us so far are listed on the website. And perhaps I could ask Marwan at some point during this call if he would include the link to the website in the chat, perhaps. And I think we have a couple of things in the chat I have to check. So in addition, we have other additional consultants are Mamadou Samba, who is based also in the Washington, D.C. area, who is the former director of the Office of African Affairs with the D.C. government. We have Reda Oulamin, who is a lawyer in Morocco, who couldn't be with us today. We have Didmar, I'm blanking on his full name, Marwan, perhaps you can help me here. Who is
Faja.
Yes, and who can't be with us today. And then we have also Osama. Actually, I'm not sure he's committed. So we do have, you can find the bios and the names and the bios of our founding member consultants on the website. Of course, we are looking to have other experts join us, and the criteria will be listed are listed on the website already for membership applications. And I just have to say we're very, very pleased to have all of you experts with us, most of whom have participated in each of the Halal Summits and Expos over the last few years. and very educational and enlightening they were too. So without further ado, let me introduce our first guest speaker, who is the amazing Shahed Amanullah, who is the Managing Director of Frost Capital, a Palo Alto-based private equity fund manager and an investment advisor. He is the founder of Zabiha, the world's first and largest halal restaurant guide with more than 10 million users annually. He's also co-founder of Affinis Labs, which is an award-winning social innovation firm tackling complex global challenges through entrepreneurship. And he also co-founded Zakatify, which is a social impact fintech startup in conjunction with the PayPal Giving Fund. And from 2011 to 2014, he served in President Obama's administration as the senior advisor for technology at the State Department, working under Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, where he designed several entrepreneurship and technology initiatives. So we are very, very pleased to have you, Shahed, and please take the mic.
Thank you so much, and assalamu alaikum to everybody. I'm really happy to talk about this topic because it's been a part of my adult life for the last 30 years. And the halal marketplace is a really fascinating one because it's really, it really started not that long ago as a kind of concrete marketplace. And it has transformed considerably over the last 30 years, and it's still transforming because there's a perfect storm of the economy and market, of the emergence of a American and or Western Muslim identity, which is transforming into a global internet-shaped identity. And it's where the halal marketplace as positioned towards Muslim populations is starting to morph into a halal marketplace that's accessible to everybody. So it's really hard to navigate all this. You know, what strategies worked 5 years ago aren't going to work today. And I'll give you a couple of examples. I started Zabiha in 1998. At that time, I could only identify 200 restaurants in North America that had one or more explicitly halal dishes that it served to its customers. We've since gone from 200 restaurants to over 20,000 that serve one or more dishes. And even the quality of those establishments have changed. You've gone from mom and pop stores and restaurants that are serving it primarily because of their own values to major restaurant chains that are including it as not just a means of reaching out to Muslim customers, but because so much of the global food chain has actually adopted halal practices. So you now have major chains that are halal that didn't even know it. And so what caused all this, and like how have we navigated that? Let me give you a statistic that I think is really fascinating. In the year 2000, there were maybe 1,200 mosques in the United States. 10 years later, that number had ballooned to over 2,500. Now, and this is in the decade after 9/11. So what drove that? Were there twice as many Muslims in America? No. What happened is that geopolitical events forced Muslim populations to double down on their identity. And one of the ways that Muslim populations express their identity is through the halal marketplace. So you started to see an embracing of products and services geared toward halal markets based on those values. So we've gone from an identity-driven market to a mainstream value-driven market where places like Whole Foods, where chains like Halal Guys are serving the masses, and only a fraction of their customers are Muslim, but they're still embracing that halal label for many of the reasons that have been expressed already. And this brings with it a lot of challenges. So first of all, if you're going to start a business that's catering just to Muslims, particularly if you're doing it in the West, you're catering to 1 to 2% of the American population. And it's really hard to serve a niche population unless you're serving it really well. It makes more sense to serve the broader population, but then the challenge becomes how do you market a halal product or service to the general population without losing, you know, what I call the engine of the train, that group of passionate Muslims that want to express their identity through halal purchases by making your product or service explicitly halal. So that's one of the challenges. The second challenge is a lack of standardization. So, 30 years ago, we had very few halal authorities. People basically did halal based on kind of their own understanding. And now, both because of the scale and because consumers are demanding more authoritative halal labeling, we have this need to come together with a standard. And the problem that I've seen is that you now have a proliferation of halal authorities, and everybody agrees there should be one authority, but everyone also agrees that it should be their standards that govern. And so we still have this very fragmented marketplace of an expression of values, and that's something we need to resolve fairly quickly. As a marketplace in the United States, we have some advantages over other halal marketplaces in the world that are in the West, particularly if you look at places like Europe and the UK, where the growth of a halal marketplace is met head on by intolerance and bigotry. Here in America, the halal marketplace has not hit that kind of obstacle. If you look at the halal guys, for example, there's no New Yorker on the street that wouldn't smile when you mention the name halal guys, because it brings to them, their mouth starts to water. It means something positive to them. But if you mention halal, unfortunately, a lot of markets in the world, places like Australia and the UK and parts of Europe, not only is there public discontent with that word, but you now have legal obstacles being put in place, which frankly are not going to come over here in America anytime soon. And so we do have a unique opportunity, and that also allows for us as halal producers in America to start thinking about being more of an export market. You have significant export markets in places like Australia and Brazil, but I think America is a very unique incubator for halal ideas, not just in the typical food, fashion, finance spaces, but in broader areas, right? Where our values are starting to be put into products that are targeted for the mainstream, and that gives it a competitive advantage over other products, and then that allows us to expand. So there's a couple of ways that I think we need to approach this. One is we need to shift from the by us, for us model, Muslims making things for Muslims, to the by us, for everyone model. We're doing things that we think have mass appeal, and they have our values embedded, and they're embedded in such a way that are applicable to you. So I don't know if any of you have looked at the back of a package of Saffron Road's frozen entrees. A disclaimer, I was a founding board member of that company, so I've had a long history with Saffron Road. But if you look at the way they describe halal, it's not described in kind of Islamic terms. It's described in terms that are universal, because it's not just about being, for example, organic. It's about kindness to animals. It's about the way that you raise the animals. It's about the way that you treat them when you're processing them. These are things that even a lot of other ethical traditions kind of overlook, and so it's our contribution to that space. We have and are shifting from a market based on identity to a market based on values, right? So this is not about just catering to people who come from the culture or country of origin that maybe we have come from, or even catering to us as Muslims with a specific value system. It's about us contributing to something of value to our neighbors. And with that, the market size goes from 1% to 2% to 100%. And it makes a halal business much more viable. And in that, we have to catch up to some of the mainstream companies that are seeing halal as a valuable addition to their portfolio, and they're starting to add that in. So if we don't catch up with the with standardizing on our authorities, if we don't lead this effort in terms of defining what halal is as a brand, not just as a kind of value system, then it's going to be commoditized by larger players who are definitely seeing this opportunity. And so that's why we need to come together like we're coming together and talk about these things and be ready for where that market is going, because it is going to be changing over the next couple of years. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Shahed. Very insightful comments, and you've had such great experience in the market, so we're really pleased for you to share your thoughts with us so that we can learn from them and help other businesses also take advantage of the market-wide, US-wide opportunity that there is. Let me correct, I misspoke earlier about Dr. Atiya Ahmed. She's actually with George Washington University, not Georgetown. Apologies for that. So now let me turn to our second wonderful speaker here, the Honorable Allison Silberberg. She is the former mayor of Alexandria, Virginia. Unfortunately, I moved out of Alexandria just before your term. She is now a government relations consultant, a writer, a public speaker, and a lifelong advocate for social justice and inclusiveness. And you may guess by her name that she's of Jewish origin, Jewish background, which for us is very important because the halal space is somewhat behind the kosher space. The kosher businesses went through this kind of development much earlier than we did. And so some of the halal laws that are on the books right now, and there are very few, are actually modeled after the kosher laws. So obviously it's not exactly the same, but we're really pleased to have Allison with us, because not only that, when she was mayor, she initiated and drafted the city's statement on inclusiveness, which garnered national attention at the time of the Muslim ban. And that's really what drew my attention to Allison, plus being a lovely person as well. And she continues to speak out for proactive, common sense approaches to government while championing education, social justice, the environment, and affordable housing, amongst other things. So let me welcome the Honorable Allison Silberberg.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Marwan. Love being with you all. I'm honored. Salam alaikum. And thank you for having me. And what a prestigious group. And Shahed, thank you for your words. I feel like I just learned a lot about the trajectory of this business model. I had a sense of it, but hearing your take on it was fascinating. So I'm so pleased to be with you. I want to say, first of all, heartfelt congratulations to everyone associated with American Halal Consultants. Just phenomenal and obviously needed. So congrats to Marwan, congrats to Elisabeth and all the consultants, and I know it's going to do well. And as Elisabeth mentioned, I served as mayor of Alexandria, Virginia, which is, if a lot of you are in the DC area, but if you're not, it's literally like a 5-minute drive from where I live to DC. So unless there's massive traffic. So, but seriously, it's about a 5-minute drive. And I am proud of being the one who initiated and authored our city's statement on inclusiveness. And so many cities kept reaching out to me and saying, can we use this? Can we adopt this and use your language? And I'm like, sure, you don't need to ask. It's a public document. In fact, I pulled out a copy of it right here. It's on my website. It's in English and Spanish, Amharic, and Arabic. All 4 languages are on one poster. And it's a very easy poster that, and the whole council signed it and voted for it, et cetera. So I'm very proud of that resolution and that statement. And I'm proud that Alexandria is really a very welcoming place, and that we're not just tolerant. I don't think that's good enough. We're embracing and accepting and welcoming. We are also, I'm happy to report, very much known for our food, and I am a total foodie. So I'll talk about that in a minute, but I'm really glad that Shahed mentioned the growth in restaurants. I have, for probably 25 years, have been going to a place called the Mediterranean Bakery, and people from all over the DC metropolitan area, like an hour or more away, go to the Mediterranean Bakery, and it's right here in my city of Alexandria. So I don't have very far to go. So I've been eating halal products for many, like probably closer to 30 years, and is my guess. So I wrote down a couple of notes because I didn't want to forget something. I think one of the things that the American Halal Consultants can do, of course, is help build bridges. And part of my degree program at American University in the School of International Service was talking about building bridges across, all cultures, all religions, all governments, building bridges of understanding. And I think the creation and launch of the American Halal Consultants is a great step forward in that direction. And what better way to promote business, trade, health, obviously, and tech. And Shahed mentioned a lot of that, but also a way to break bread together. My main knowledge of halal is through food. And Elisabeth mentioned that I'm Jewish, and yes, I'm Jewish. I don't really keep kosher, but I certainly have enjoyed many kosher foods, and but I am very familiar with the kosher market. And I think in a way it is a roadmap for y'all. And I think that's terrific. And I think you're already very popular, and Halal Guys just opened in Alexandria during COVID, and it's very well received and very popular. And I am thrilled that they opened here. So I'm obviously very enthusiastic, but everyone today, of course, is very interested in food that is safer and free of additives. And Elisabeth mentioned cosmetics that are free of toxins. I wear lipstick. I don't want all women use all these cosmetics and special products on our hair and things like that. And so our lotions, I'd be very interested to know more. So I think part of American Halal Consultants can be really focused on building knowledge, common knowledge, acceptance of common knowledge about what does it mean if it's halal. Making sure, like Shahed mentioned, I totally agree with him that he mentioned having some standardization, that if you're fragmented, that is fixable. So Marwan and Elisabeth and everyone and consultants, I agree with him. You want that mass appeal so that you broaden out your market base. You are really on the cusp of something that's already big, but could be massive. And this is very exciting for you all who are starting American Halal Consultants. I'm really happy for you. And it's really time for halal products to go mainstream, I personally believe. And I think that others will agree with that. And so I think this is a really an important moment. And yes, we did have some difficult moments in the past few years, but I can say with enthusiasm that in a week that will change. So, and I think that the country is moving. I'm sorry to be political, but but there it is. So, but I can speak for my city that we're very blessed. Like I mentioned, that we have a number of well-established businesses, restaurants, Mediterranean Bakery I mentioned, but Afghan Market. And again, Halal Guys and many others. And I hope others join in. We definitely celebrate our diversity here. And I believe that many communities would benefit from your guidance from your consultants, American Halal Consultants. I also wanted to mention that the time is right in general to spread knowledge about halal products. I think that people are open to it, and not only open to it, but searching for it. So I think this is a great moment, and a lot of business is really about capturing that moment. And I loved when Shahed was mentioning about that mass appeal. So I definitely welcome your questions if anyone has a question, but I did want to mention, and Elisabeth and Marwan and I kind of discussed this, we did have a moment here in my city. Now, this is a city that's totally committed to spreading kindness and embracing inclusiveness, and not just in words, but in actions. And we did have a moment here about a year or two ago after I left office, where someone wanted to open a business that would be a slaughterhouse. It happened to be halal. To me, it doesn't matter if it's, we're a tiny little city, very one of the most densely populated cities in the country. the densest populated in Virginia, I believe. And anyway, so it was very controversial. I couldn't have supported it. I think it maybe outside an urban area would have been far more appropriate. And I think that American Halal Consultants, frankly, would have probably been helpful in terms of guidance about, maybe in the heart of New York City or some other major metropolitan city, maybe there's a place for that. I can't speak to that, but in little tiny Alexandria, where there are tons of already established businesses and restaurants, and that's where they push to put their slaughterhouse. So again, if it had been a kosher slaughterhouse or, Christian slaughterhouse or whatever, it's a slaughterhouse, and I couldn't have supported it. But I just think that it's great to have those conversations in a very civilized way, and the city did. But anyway, I think you all have an important role to play, and I'll just wrap up and just say thank you so much for having me. And I think the sky is the limit for you all at American Halal Consultants. And if I can be of any help, I am here. And also in Alexandria, I forgot to mention, I don't know how I forgot this, but the Islamic Relief Center is based right here in my city. And I have a wonderful rapport and relationship with them. And I'm so glad that they are here. So they've been wonderful. So anyway, I wish all good things for the American Halal Consultants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Allison. And it's wonderful to have you supporting this endeavor. And that's one of our goals, is to facilitate business, but you also have to facilitate business in the neighborhood in which it's going to operate. And you don't want to have bad blood between the owners of business, the people who live next door, the businesses next door. And I think you're right. We can be helpful in those kinds of areas. And also because we talk cross-culturally as well. So making halal more mainstream, I think, is one of the benefits that will come out of what we're doing on an individual company by company basis with our consultants. And I think it will really help the industry. So with that, thank you so much. Marwan, I think you were going to talk a little bit about more specifically the programs that we're going to be offering, and then we will have a Q&A. And if you can stick around for the Q&A, Allison, that would be lovely.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Marwan.
Well, I want to thank Allison and Shahed, who just left us for a previous engagement. Very insightful, like Elisabeth said, and we do definitely look forward to you being part of what we do, whether Alexandria or nearby cities. This is the purpose of this group, is to advocate and to support businesses who are already in business or want to start a halal business, not just in Virginia, but hopefully nationally as we grow as a group. So talking about our activities, planned activities for the year. So we put some actually aggressive plan that we'd like to enact starting now and throughout the year. And this will include actually a monthly webinar like we're doing right now, inviting some of our expert consultants who are here. I think we reached about 18 consultants, registered consultants so far, which is amazing. Those expertise with us are people with wealth of knowledge and wealth of experience and wealth of halal backgrounds in many areas, whether it's food, cosmetics, tourism, government affairs, trying to name as many, legal, logistics and shipping. I mean, so much is available within this amazing group of consultants, and we really appreciate and I'm very happy that they joined us. So the monthly webinars will cover a topic every month, and we'll bring in these consultants who specialize in those topics to speak. And it will be on the third Thursday of every month, similar setup as we're doing right now. So we will be reaching out to you in a day or two to send you the calendar for the entire year. So you know from now where you're going to be presenting and what day and time. The other thing we'll be offering is training, and the training, again, by the consultants to companies who want to get into halal market or want to grow in the halal market in the US. We will organize those trainings throughout the year. Some will be based on one-on-one requirements by certain companies, or some will be group trainings based if there is enough request by a number of companies to join together and come to this training. What we're offering throughout this particular 2 events is a great networking opportunity. Businesses will come and meet with you. They'll have a chance to talk to you, ask you questions, get to know you a little bit more before we go into the actual contractual work to be hired and to work on certain projects based on your background and knowledge. The other thing we'll be offering is business leads. So businesses who are already reaching out to us, asking us for help and support, we will meet with them, do initial consultation, Elisabeth and I, and based on what they're looking for, whether it's a research about food or research about other areas like travel and tourism and such specialties, we will reach out to the consultant and say, okay, we have prospect here and we need to serve those clients and put together proposals and contracts so we can acquire them for service. The last item is the membership for the group. We have 2 types of membership. We have the business memberships who would like to pay annual dues to take advantage of the benefits for joining the group, which mostly would be discounted services that they need, among many other services and advantages. But also there is a membership for consultants. Consultants who have experience in the field of halal, any field of halal, Muslim or non-Muslim. This is not restricted to Muslims. Anybody who has knowledge that can benefit companies in the halal domain is welcome to join the group. They have to submit an application and we will look into their background and expertise and decide if this will add value to our clients who are reaching out to us. Surprisingly, most clients who reach out to us so far are from international different countries who want to come into the US market. Of course, there are limitations because of the corona now of doing business in the US or export, import, or traveling to the US to have meetings. But we definitely have a short roster of requests so far, and we expect more to come as this group grows. And this is it so far. We will be launching our sections within the Halal Expo and Summit website, especially for this group, the American Halal Consultants. It will highlight what the group is for, what the goals and benefits for joining it, and how businesses can register and reach out to us asking for services. The pages are ready. We're just doing final touches on them right now. I expect them between now and probably end of the day tomorrow to be live. So if you're curious to see how it's going to look like, check out the halalexpousa.com later tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to stop about the planned activities and turn it back to Elisabeth for the Q&A session. And if anybody has a comment also, they're welcome to make it here on Zoom as well.
Yeah, so let me also add that we have about a dozen founding member consultants, but we're open to, as I said earlier, having more consultants join us because there are many aspects of halal. Probably we have about 99% of those areas covered now with the few that we have. But for anyone who is an expert in that space who happens to be watching on Facebook, please get in touch with us. We will take membership applications online. and get back to you soon. So for Q&A, I wasn't able to access the Facebook live stream, Marwan. I don't know if you have that open for the Q&A here. So does anybody on our Zoom have any questions?
Yeah, I
have a
do.
comment.
I do. Oh,
Yeah.
Let's have Abed. Abed, go ahead first. Thank
Just
you.
for the area of what the consultants or American Halal Consultants can offer, I could just give some examples of things that I had done in my work that many companies would need. For example, even on reasonable accommodations at many of these large corporations is an area of consultant demand. I had one of the largest logistic companies in the country at one point ask me to prepare a report on reasonable accommodation relating to prayer, because they had a large employee amount of employees that were Muslim, and they wanted to do a reasonable accommodation to avoid, a discrimination lawsuit. So these are areas that we should, as consultants, and many of us have different areas of expertise, can provide guidance for companies on reasonable accommodations in the workplace. So I thought you should add that on your list.
Thank you, Abed. And who was the other person who?
it's me. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Alaikum salam. Hello, Habib.
How are you? Good. Alhamdulillah. I want to thank you and Marwan and all of us on the American Halal Council Board for especially Elisabeth for initiating this. It's very, very critical and long overdue. As our brother Shahed had mentioned, in the old days, and Mustafa Al-Dagduri can confirm this, when they had any issues with the government, they would come to the Arab Chamber, which had worked, which is about 40 years now, 40 years when we started it. And they will ask us questions, and if they have delegations come in to find out how they can implement halal here, which led to my USA Halal and ISWA Halal certification department. The question really was for Shahed, but he is not here. Maybe I'll email it to him, but he used to list people as being halal certified in his website, and it created a lot of issues, especially for us, because when somebody says, oh, we bought the meat and this is the halal certificate, it doesn't mean everything else is halal. So, but it's a technical issue that can be addressed, but yeah, the other thing is, as Abed said, there are other areas. We had problems when our slaughtermen wanted to pray in the slaughterhouses, and they had some problems, and we had to talk with top management to allow to give them a designated room to do their prayers, and I'm talking about maybe 40, 50 people in some big plants. The smaller plants was not an issue. So, but I want to congratulate all of you and thank you. I know it's going to be very big, especially you, Elisabeth, touching. We should get more Africans involved too. Don't forget south of Morocco. Don't only deal with Morocco. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Well, we have Najib, who's kind of a cross.
Like me, Gambia and Morocco.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you for those comments, Habib. Yes, I suggest that you might want to raise them directly with Shahed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it confuses people when they see that it's halal certified by ISWA. They think that everything is done, and it's only that they are buying the raw poultry or the raw beef from a place that we certify. So people always contact us saying, oh, this place is, I said, like KFC and other Muslim-owned franchises, they do buy halal poultry and meat, just like the halal guys, but they're not really certified. There's a difference between certification and accreditation, but that's a different topic completely. Right. Peter knows about that too.
What-
You know.
We have a
one of the many.
question on Facebook. Says, great webinar. How can we get in touch with you? Do you have a representative or an office in the West Coast? We don't have representatives. We have consultants, and they are from all over the country. But our office is in Virginia. You can reach out to us. I posted our email and phone number on Facebook for anybody to reach out to us.
Good,
I think
good.
Peter has a question also, Elizabeth.
Go ahead, Peter.
Yes, thank you very much. Peter Unger, I'm IQ's president. I wanted to follow up with Habib. Major issue that we have in
Good
the
timing, Habib.
marketplace is providing confidence in the marketplace. And the certification, the credibility of certification is a key issue. And that's where accreditation of the certification bodies comes in. And I'm dealing with issues related to international trade and where there may be obstacles for US products that are certified halal or allegedly certified halal or have to be certified halal from an accredited certifier in various markets around the world, and that is great. That is growing, and I think we have a need to make sure that the exporting companies are aware of what's needed in order to get their product accepted globally, and of course domestically as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. It looks like we have a question from Yvonne. Or a
Oh, I
comment?
just actually have a comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you for having me and for having this wonderful this group. And I was so delighted when Marwan told me that you were forming this, because I think it's so necessary. I've been working with companies, food companies, for the last 11 years, 12 years now. And it's always been a challenge because companies have often come to me requesting, recipe development projects and marketing projects. And I think being part of a larger professional organization such as this is going to really be beneficial to all consultants as well as the businesses who are looking for the type of work that each of us specialize in. So I think this is going to be a really big game changer to have companies be able to identify what they're looking for and then find the experts within this group. So thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. And we're very, very glad to have you with your very special niche and talents.
I would like to address something, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Some people might ask a question. What is the difference between American Halal Consultants and the American Halal Council, a nonprofit organization? So I want to make that clear. The American Halal Consultant is an offshoot of the Halal Expo and Summit, which is a business. This is a profitable venture for everybody who's involved. The American Halal Council is a nonprofit focusing on advocacy for halal, research for halal, and education on halal for the public and the businesses. So I want to make that clear from now. This way, there is no gray areas. This is a business venture. The other one that some of us here are involved in, many of us actually, is a nonprofit organization with different programs. We do support each other. We work together. But when it comes to business, this is the forum to address this.
And I think that point is very important about working together, because I think some of the difficulties in the halal market so far have been when people don't work together to try and find standards that are workable for the industry, that people can meet, that laws can reflect. And I think with this joint effort and dialogue, and also the working both the nonprofit side and the profit side of this effort working together, I think that there will be a bigger impact. And so I think we're really fortunate to have all of you amazing experts with your knowledge and your expertise and your years of being involved in the industry, teaching in the industry, working in the industry, developing products for the industry. So thank you all for participating in this endeavor. And
I have a comment,
ahead,
and also I have two comments. First of all, Allison, the issue of the slaughterhouse, that's a big issue in agriculture with urbanization. And it goes further than a slaughterhouse. It goes with farms that are close to, let's say, the suburbs, and the encroachment on agriculture by urban populations. And so they're called nuisance laws, because there are a lot of laws out there that are just put up so that sort of, they say that these let's say the animals are keeping too much noise, or they're making too much waste or whatever. So the issue is not just unique to a slaughterhouse. It's an issue that's broader in terms of the encroachment. I would say the encroachment on urban people on agriculture, because I'm from an agricultural background. And but I was invited, this is my second comment, I was invited in 2019 to go to Chicago to speak at a U.S. Dairy Expo Council halal workshop. And at that workshop, this is the U.S. Dairy Export Council. It's an industry group promoting the export of U.S. dairy products. And so that organization has to deal with halal, and it did not have the expertise. So it actually organized this conference or workshop in Chicago to bring together technical experts to explain to industry people exactly what halal is all about and how it will impact their businesses in the future. It was absolutely excellent. And so I would say that the American Halal Consultants would be the type of organization they would go to pull these experts together without trying to find one here and one there and all over the place. But it was, it's always it's a good thing for this group to look at those industry groups that are involved with exporting product around the world.
yes, very good points. And I did mean to mention in my comments that I think we're viewing this as a one-stop shopping platform, so that people can find what they need by not going all over the internet and just having to spend a lot of time and spinning their wheels. We can direct them to somebody who's got the actual expertise that can help. So do we have any other, Allison, did you want to say something?
Thanks. And first of all, I want to thank Quintin. That's very interesting. So I didn't mention, so I'm originally from Dallas, and I grew up on a tiny little street, and at the end of the street, we were the third house from the end. It's like a little tiny street, literally. And at the end of the street, just 2 houses down, was a big farm. And when I would ride my little bike over to the edge of the farm, and I remember saying to my father, wow, you can really, it smells differently. I mean, you can smell the animals. And he's like, yeah, you can. And it was good. I mean, I sort of was exposed to that, even though I grew up in the heart of Dallas, right, in a suburb. So, but I can totally appreciate, Quintin, what you were saying. And being a kid that grew up in Dallas, I'm sympathetic to agriculture, as you can imagine. And I worked for a U.S. Senator from Texas, Senator Benson. So I'm very familiar with some of those issues that you raised, and it's a balance, right? Senator Benson used to always talk about that, actually. And so in this particular case, I mean, we're just like 15 square miles, and where this particular slaughterhouse business wanted to come and got voted in, actually. But all these other well-established businesses were, restaurants and homes less than a mile away. And but it wasn't really the homes so much, it was the business community that wanted, to be pro-business, but didn't feel like any kind of slaughterhouse belonged right there. I mean, a pizza place that's half a block away and a bakery across the street that's been there for years. So it's probably more complicated than I can relate here, but I do appreciate what you're saying. But Alexandria's been really urban for a long time. Really Arlington County next door to us used to be full of farmland, as I understand it, going back many decades. So, and then I was just going to mention something that, since Peter Unger mentioned it, and and Habib mentioned it. The whole thing, the whole point about the certification, we might want to, or Elisabeth, you and Marwan and others might want to look at how the organic market came about, because I remember like 20 some years ago when Nora's was this great restaurant in DuPont Circle.
Yeah.
And she had to go all over. And I remember asking people at Nora's, you know, so this is all organic. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, and they didn't really have a standard. They were just a restaurant, but she was really at the forefront of this movement. And then what we ended up seeing in the last couple of decades is that certification. So you don't have to totally reinvent the wheel. I would find out what the organic world did, because once they got their act together and standardized the organic emblem stamp on their food, it now means something, right?
Exactly,
So,
exactly. Yeah, Elizabeth, may I add something to support what Elizabeth said? First and foremost, I want
We're
to
almost
let
out
you.
of time, Habib, just so you
Okay,
know.
all right then. Okay
ahead.
then. Bye bye. No,
Go
no.
ahead.
If you want, I can stop. But I just wanted to say that that slaughterhouse in Alexandria that had issues, I had to testify on their behalf, and they had a lot of opposition, and finally it got approved. You know, but and also I wanted to tell Quintin Gray that there are some grandfather laws that allow some older existing small facilities to continue doing what they're doing. We have one in Baltimore and we have one in actually Jamaica in New York, that the slaughterhouse is right in the middle of the city. Thank you very much and congratulations and assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. Alaikum salam, Habib. So I think we've come to the end of our time. I don't see any other questions in the chat here. Is there anything from Facebook we need to respond to, Marwan?
Nothing new, but I want to reiterate what Allison said in terms of learning from the organic and the kosher industry. We definitely have a lot to learn from. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to do some research, and I have been doing some research, especially on the organic and kosher, to see what we can do to jump hoops instead of having to, learn the hard way. The other thing is, which I am really big on, is bringing on technology into the halal market. Innovation and technology is lacking in the halal industry. So I'm working on a very exciting project. I cannot announce it yet, but it might be live soon. It is app-based, which will allow people to use, creating a lot of transparency in the halal market. I'd like to also make an announcement that next week, same day, but at 1 o'clock, American Halal Council is hosting Dr. Mustafa Dakdouki, former USDA and FSIS senior employee, and existing members of FSIS and USDA to talk about halal label, which there is a lot of ambiguity about, and we want the expertise of Dr. Mustafa and people from USDA to clarify for the consumer. We that are involved in the halal already market, we might know a lot of it, but most people have no idea what that halal label on the product means. And we wanted to tell them these are the conditions to meet the proper halal label. Right now, it's been used haphazard, randomly, a lot of violations out there on the halal labeling, and we need to educate the people on it. Next week, 1 o'clock, but this time by American Halal Council.
Marwan, I just want to mention something to Allison about the organic things in a few minutes, if I can.
Please.
I work for USDA Food Safety Inspection Service for almost about 35 years. I'm the one who wrote halal policy in USDA. And we have organic was like what you said for about 20, 25 years ago. And we still have the same program for halal. Who certified the certification is Agriculture Marketing Service, which is all what you do is when you do organic, they have some kind of requirement. And with those requirements, Agriculture Marketing Service, USDA Agriculture Marketing Service, will watch that program for you, but that's will cost you maybe a penny or something each pound, to make sure whatever you do is meet the requirement for the product. You could at the end call it organic. Same thing when we approached them for halal, they were willing to do it. So it's just have to pay. You know that USDA is, when we do inspection, we do it for free. So with that, if you need to have similar programs, it can be possible to do it. The requirement for halal is different than requirement for organic, because organic is having or specific, and about 99% of the people agreed on it. But in halal, still have different actually requirement for each country, a little bit different. So we try to put them under one umbrella. And since 1995, since I made my policy, for 25 years, we're almost there. Hopefully we could come up with some kind of umbrella can cover all the halal requirements. Thank you.
I think that's fascinating. And I think this is all within reach. We just have to focus on it. And yeah, very exciting. That's fascinating.
And he lives in your area too, Allison.
Oh, Mustafa does?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
very good. Well, I'm just so glad to hear y'all's take on these things. So very exciting.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you, everybody, for
See
joining us.
everybody.
And
Are you done?
I think we're done. Looks like everybody's hanging up. So Marwan, are you still on?
I'm here.
Ah, okay. I was just going to say, just tell people, rejoin us next month for the next webinar for the American Halal Consultants.
Thank
And
you,
thanks for
everybody.
joining us.
Appreciate your
All right.
time. We'll be in touch with you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye
Take
bye,
care, all.
everybody.
Have a good day or evening, wherever you
Everyone
are.
stay safe.
Yes,
you.
you too. Bye-bye.
Mhm. Bye.
Bye-bye.